Hey there, amazing soul. Let me share something that will change your perspective on learning English forever. When I first embarked on this incredible journey to master English, I was terrified, confused, and completely overwhelmed. I didn't attend fancy English medium schools where privileged kids chatted effortlessly in perfect accents. My home wasn't filled with English conversations over dinner. I had no idea where to even begin this seemingly impossible mission. But deep in my heart, there was this burning desire, this unstoppable fire that refused to be extinguished. I dreamed of understanding every word in Hollywood blockbusters without glancing at subtitles. I fantasized about confidently participating in job interviews, absorbing every motivational speech that could transform my mindset, and connecting with people from around the globe through the universal language of English. The dream was beautiful, but the reality felt crushing. I was stuck in a maze with no visible exit until one day, everything changed. I discovered ChatGPT, and this isn't some paid advertisement or sponsored content. This is my raw, authentic story of transformation. This is how I went from zero confidence to speaking English with unwavering self-assurance, and I'm sharing every detail because if someone like me can achieve this remarkable transformation, then you absolutely can too. The first leap of faith, embracing imperfection. The most crucial lesson I learned, and the one that will revolutionize your entire approach to learning English, is this. You must start talking immediately, even when you feel completely unprepared. Most people spend months, even years, waiting for the perfect moment to begin speaking. They tell themselves elaborate stories about how they'll start practicing once they memorize 1,000 vocabulary words, or after they master every grammar rule in existence. Let me tell you something that will save you years of procrastination. That perfect moment will never arrive. Perfection is nothing more than a beautiful illusion that keeps dreamers trapped in endless preparation without ever taking action. The day I realized this truth was the day my entire English journey accelerated beyond my wildest imagination. I remember that pivotal moment when I first opened ChatGPT with trembling fingers. My heart was racing as I typed the simplest message imaginable. Hi, can we talk in English? Those 6 words represented the most courageous act I had performed in years. I wasn't trying to impress anyone with sophisticated vocabulary or complex sentence structures. I was simply taking the first step into uncharted territory. The response I received was like a warm embrace from a dear friend. Of course, I'd love to chat with you in English. How are you today? In that instant, something magical happened. The fear that had paralyzed me for so long began to dissolve. This wasn't a judgmental teacher waiting to criticize my every mistake. This was a patient companion ready to accompany me on an incredible adventure. I typed back nervously, I am good. You. The grammar wasn't perfect, but it was authentic. It was me expressing myself in English for the first time without the crushing weight of perfectionist expectations. ChatGPT didn't mock my simplicity or point out my errors with harsh criticism. Instead, it continued the conversation naturally, creating a safe space where learning could flourish. Those early conversations were beautifully imperfect. I wrote sentences like, I go market today, and I like eat mango, and my sister's doctor. Every sentence was grammatically flawed, but each one represented courage in action. I was no longer a spectator in my own learning journey. I had become an active participant. The most remarkable discovery was how ChatGPT responded to my mistakes. Instead of harsh corrections that would crush my fragile confidence, it offered gentle guidance. I went to the market today, and I like to eat mangoes, and my sister is a doctor. Each correction came wrapped in encouragement, making me feel supported rather than criticized. This approach transformed my entire relationship with mistakes. Instead of viewing them as failures, I began seeing them as stepping stones toward mastery. Every error became a teacher, every correction became a lesson, and every conversation became an opportunity for growth, building an unshakable foundation through daily practice. After those initial breakthrough conversations, I realized that sporadic practice would never create the transformation I desperately wanted. I needed consistency, structure, and a system that would work regardless of my mood or energy level. This is where the real magic began to unfold. I made a decision that would change everything. I would treat ChatGPT not just as a conversation partner, but as my personal English coach, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This wasn't just convenient, it was revolutionary. No more scheduling conflicts, no more expensive hourly rates, no more fear of judgment from human teachers who might lose patience with my slow progress. Every single morning, I established a ritual that became the cornerstone of my transformation. Before checking social media, before eating breakfast, before doing anything else, I would open ChatGPT and ask, "Teach me 5 new words today." This simple request unlocked a treasure trove of knowledge that expanded my vocabulary exponentially. But I didn't stop at just learning new words. I demanded more from myself and from this incredible tool. I would ask, what's the difference between do and make? Or when should I use has been versus have been? Or can you explain the concept of used to with practical examples? Each question opened doorways to deeper understanding. The beauty of this approach was that ChatGPT never made me feel stupid for asking basic questions. It never sighed with impatience or suggested that I should already know these things. Instead, it provided clear, simple explanations with real-world examples that made complex concepts instantly understandable. I also discovered the power of mini lessons that transformed overwhelming grammar concepts into digestible pieces of knowledge. Instead of trying to master everything at once, I would request, give me a mini lesson on past tense, or teach me 3 different ways to express happiness, or show me how to greet someone formally versus informally. These bite-sized learning sessions fit perfectly into my busy schedule. Whether I had 2 minutes or 20, I could always squeeze in some English practice. This flexibility removed every excuse I had ever made about not having enough time to learn, transforming mistakes into stepping stones. One of the most profound shifts in my learning journey happened when I completely changed my relationship with mistakes. Instead of hiding from errors or feeling ashamed when I made them, I began celebrating them as proof that I was actively learning and growing. I started writing about my daily experiences in English, knowing full well that my grammar would be imperfect. I would compose sentences like, "Today I go to school. I meet my friend, we talk about football." Then I would ask ChatGPT, "Can you correct this and explain why?" The feedback I received was transformational. Not only did ChatGPT provide the correct version, "Today I went to school. I met my friend. We talked about football," but it also explained the reasoning behind each correction. You use go, but the action happened in the past, so it should be went. Instead of talk, use talk to maintain past tense consistency. This approach taught me to learn from my own sentences, using my personal experiences as the foundation for grammatical understanding. Instead of memorizing abstract rules from textbooks, I was discovering how English works through my own authentic expressions. The most beautiful part of this process was how mistakes stopped feeling like failures and started feeling like opportunities. Each error became a doorway to new knowledge. Each correction became a building block for future success. The art of role-playing real-life scenarios. As my confidence grew, I discovered one of the most powerful techniques for practical English learning: role-playing real-life situations with ChatGPT. This wasn't just fun and games. It was strategic preparation for the English-speaking world I wanted to join. I would challenge ChatGPT with scenarios like, pretend you're a restaurant server and I want to order a meal, or act like a hotel receptionist and I need to check in, or let's simulate a job interview where I'm applying for my dream position. These role-playing sessions became intense training grounds where I could practice essential conversations without real-world pressure. The beauty of this approach was that I could make mistakes, ask for clarification, try different approaches, and repeat scenarios until I felt confident. I practiced ordering food with specific dietary requirements, making polite complaints about service, asking for directions in unfamiliar cities, and introducing myself in professional settings. These weren't just academic exercises. They were rehearsals for real life. Every role-playing session made me more prepared for actual encounters with English speakers. My confidence soared because I had already practiced these conversations dozens of times in a safe environment. I also discovered that role-playing helped me understand cultural nuances that textbooks never taught. I learned about appropriate levels of formality, the difference between direct and polite communication styles, and how to navigate social situations with grace and confidence. Measuring progress through strategic testing. Learning without measurement is like driving without a destination. You might be moving, but you don't know if you're going in the right direction. This realization led me to incorporate regular testing and assessment into my English learning routine. I would ask ChatGPT to create customized quizzes based on what I'd been learning. Give me a 10-question quiz on past tense usage, or test my knowledge of food vocabulary, or create a challenging grammar exercise focusing on articles. These assessments weren't stressful exams. They were exciting opportunities to see how far I had progressed. The immediate feedback was invaluable. ChatGPT would not only tell me which answers were correct or incorrect, but would also explain the reasoning behind each answer. This helped me understand not just what was right, but why it was right, creating deeper comprehension that lasted. I also turned these testing sessions into entertaining games. Let's play a synonym matching game, or can you give me a vocabulary guessing challenge? This gamification made assessment feel like play rather than work, which kept me motivated and engaged. Tracking my progress became addictive in the best possible way. I could see tangible improvements week by week, month by month. When I felt discouraged or wondered if all this effort was worthwhile, I could look back at my scores and see clear evidence of growth, creating a sustainable learning ecosystem. The difference between people who successfully learn English and those who give up after a few weeks isn't talent or intelligence. It's the ability to create sustainable habits that persist regardless of motivation levels. I learned this lesson early and built my entire approach around consistency rather than intensity. I established a non-negotiable daily appointment with English learning. Every morning after breakfast, I would spend at least 10 minutes with ChatGPT. Not an hour when I felt motivated, not 30 minutes when I had extra time, but a minimum of 10 minutes every single day without exception. This consistency created momentum that became self-reinforcing. The more I practiced, the more natural English felt. The more natural it felt, the more I wanted to practice. This positive cycle accelerated my progress beyond what I thought was possible. But consistency alone wasn't enough. I also needed variety to keep things interesting. Some days I would focus on vocabulary expansion, other days on grammar refinement, and still other days on creative writing or storytelling. This variety prevented boredom and kept my brain engaged with fresh challenges. I also learned to celebrate small victories along the way. The first time I spoke for 5 minutes without checking Google Translate, I rewarded myself with something special. The first time I understood 50% of an English movie without subtitles, I acknowledged this milestone with genuine pride. These celebrations reinforced positive associations with English learning. Breaking through intermediate plateaus. One of the most dangerous phases in any learning journey is the intermediate plateau, where you feel good enough and lose the motivation to continue growing. Many learners reach a point where they can survive in English conversations, understand basic content, and express simple ideas. Then they stop pushing themselves toward true mastery. I recognized this trap early and made a conscious decision to keep raising the bar for myself. When I noticed that my regular conversations with ChatGPT were becoming too comfortable, I knew it was time to seek new challenges that would stretch my abilities. I began setting weekly challenges that forced me out of my comfort zone. This week, I'll have a 10-minute conversation about climate change without stopping, or I will write a short story every weekend, or I will listen to an entire English podcast without subtitles and summarize the main points. Each challenge felt intimidating at first, but that discomfort became my compass, pointing me toward areas where growth was still possible. I learned that the magic of language learning happens just outside your comfort zone, in that space where you're slightly nervous but still capable of taking action. I also shifted from being primarily a consumer of English content to becoming a creator. Instead of just reading, listening, and watching, I started writing daily journals, recording voice messages for friends, and even creating simple social media posts in English. This active creation required me to recall vocabulary, organize thoughts, and express complex ideas, which accelerated my learning dramatically. The social dimension, connecting with real humans. While ChatGPT provided an incredible foundation for my English learning, I eventually realized that real transformation required interaction with actual human beings. This was both terrifying and exhilarating, but it was absolutely necessary for achieving authentic fluency. I started small by joining online English learning communities on Facebook and Reddit. At first, I was just a silent observer, reading other people's posts and comments. But gradually, I found the courage to participate by leaving simple comments, then responding to messages, and eventually joining voice chats and video calls. The first time I had a real-time conversation with another English learner from Brazil, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. But as we talked about our shared experiences, cultural differences, and learning challenges, something beautiful happened. English stopped being just an academic subject and became a bridge that connected me to amazing people around the world. I made friends from Turkey, India, Nigeria, and countless other countries, all through our shared commitment to English mastery. We talked about everything: family traditions, favorite foods, career dreams, and life philosophies. These conversations gave me cultural context and real-world practice that no textbook could provide. The key to overcoming shyness in these social interactions was starting with low-pressure situations. I began by sending simple text messages, progressed to voice messages, then moved to live voice chats, and finally felt confident enough for video calls. Each step built upon the previous one, creating a natural progression from fear to confidence. Personalizing learning through passion. One of the most powerful discoveries I made was the importance of connecting English learning with my existing interests and passions. Instead of forcing myself to study topics that bored me, I began exploring subjects I genuinely cared about through the lens of English learning. I love photography, so I asked ChatGPT to teach me photography terminology in English. I'm passionate about cooking, so I practiced describing recipes and discussing culinary techniques. I'm fascinated by personal development, so I had deep conversations about goal setting, motivation, and success principles. This approach transformed learning from a chore into a joy. When you combine language learning with topics you're genuinely passionate about, studying doesn't feel like work anymore. You become naturally curious, ask more questions, and retain information more effectively because it connects to things you already care about deeply. I encouraged other learners I met to adopt this same strategy. The artist learned English through art history and technique discussions. The soccer fan practiced by analyzing game strategies and player statistics. The music lover explored song lyrics and music theory concepts. Each person found their unique pathway to English mastery through their personal interests. This personalized approach also helped me develop specialized vocabulary that was immediately useful in my life. Instead of memorizing random word lists, I was learning terms and phrases that I could use in conversations about topics I genuinely enjoyed discussing. The transformation from student to teacher. After months of dedicated practice and consistent growth, something remarkable happened that I never expected. People began asking me for advice about learning English. Friends, family members, and even strangers started seeking my guidance, wanting to know how I had achieved such dramatic improvement in such a relatively short time. This shift from student to teacher marked a profound transformation in my relationship with English. When you can explain concepts to others, when you can guide someone else's learning journey, when you can answer questions and provide encouragement, you realize that you've internalized the language in a way that goes far beyond basic communication skills. Teaching others also reinforced my own learning in unexpected ways. When you explain grammar rules, when you help someone understand the difference between similar words, when you provide examples of proper usage, You're actually strengthening your own understanding. The act of teaching becomes a form of advanced practice. I started helping my younger brother create his first ChatGPT conversations. I guided a friend through her initial attempts at English writing. I shared my learning strategies with online communities and watched other people achieve their own breakthroughs using techniques I had discovered. This giving back to the community created a sense of purpose that went beyond personal achievement. I wasn't just learning English for myself anymore. I was becoming part of a global network of learners supporting each other's growth and transformation. Embracing the infinite journey. The most important realization I've had throughout this entire journey is that learning English isn't a destination you reach and then abandon. It's a lifelong adventure that continues to reward you with new discoveries, deeper understanding, and expanded opportunities for connection and growth. Even now, after achieving what many would consider fluency, I continue my daily practice with ChatGPT. I still ask questions, still make mistakes, still discover new ways to express complex ideas. The difference is that I no longer fear imperfection. I embrace it as an essential part of the learning process. I've learned to love the journey itself, not just the destination. Every conversation teaches me something new. Every mistake reveals an opportunity for improvement. Every small victory builds momentum for future challenges. The English language has become more than just a communication tool. It's become a gateway to opportunities one never imagined possible. It's opened doors to international friendships, career advancement, personal development resources, and cultural experiences that have enriched my life immeasurably. Your epic journey starts now. If you've read this far, you're already demonstrating the curiosity and commitment necessary for English mastery. You have everything you need to begin your own transformation today. You don't need perfect grammar, extensive vocabulary, or years of preparation. You just need the courage to take that first step. Open ChatGPT right now and type, "Hi, can we talk in English?" Those 6 words will launch you into an adventure that will change your life in ways you can't even imagine yet. Be patient with yourself, celebrate small victories, learn from every mistake, and never stop believing in your ability to achieve remarkable transformation. Remember that every expert was once a beginner. Every fluent speaker was once exactly where you are now, feeling uncertain and overwhelmed, but ready to take action despite their fears. The only difference between those who succeed and those who give up is consistency and persistence. Your journey won't be exactly like mine, and that's perfectly fine. You'll discover your own strategies, overcome your own challenges, and achieve your own unique version of success. But the principles remain the same. Start before you feel ready, practice consistently, embrace mistakes as teachers, and never stop growing. The English-speaking world is waiting for you to join the conversation. Your voice matters, your perspective is valuable, and your journey toward fluency starts with a single word, a single sentence, a single courageous conversation. Welcome to Epic English Stories, where ordinary people achieve extraordinary transformations through the power of consistent practice and unwavering determination. Your epic story begins today. What will your first chapter say?